Hey everyone, welcome back to TowerGate. It is day 101. Yes, day 101, June the 12th, 2017, Monday. Yes, indeed. Hey, thanks a lot to those of you who saw the video. I know some other people, they don't get to the video right away, but thank you to those who saw the video on day 100 and shared some comments and talked about some of your favorite music and what's going on in your life and what you've been doing and where you've been, and had some really good comments in there, really good from Jarhead. Jarhead, I was pretty sure you were a Marine. John, I should say. So thank you so much, John, for giving me so much cool information. And of course, Krabby and my good friend from the Piper Report. I'm guessing you're from Michigan, a northern city that's very windy. It could either be that or Chicago. You've kind of got that accent, so I'm thinking, either Michigan or Chicago is where you might be from. But yeah, I agree with you. Keith Moon, the greatest drummer of all time. And but anyway, some great comments there. Still reading them, and I appreciate y'all for participating in that little fun exercise. And so I'm sure some other people will continue to view that video in the days to come, and we'll learn some more about some of the other people who show up regularly and watch the videos and comment in the comment section, and bring up a lot of good points and keep me on my toes. So I appreciate all of you participating, and it was awesome to learn a little bit more about all of you who check in on the video from time to time, and some of you even every day. So I really appreciate that. It was really cool. So anyhow, we're back onto the TowerGate thing, and like I said, there's been a lot of things I've been looking at over the past couple days, but the Comey thing has been sucking all the oxygen out of the room. Other things been going on, so some of this stuff has kind of slipped off the page, I guess you'd say. Haven't had much time to get to it, so I'll touch on a couple of those things today. But there's a couple issues that are current as well going on. Of course, tomorrow is the Jeff Sessions hearing. Now, for those of you who've watched my videos, you know that I'm not a big fan of Jeff Sessions. I don't think he's a bad guy, and I know he was, one of the few Republicans who came out during the campaign and publicly supported Donald Trump. Whenever Trump came to Alabama, Sessions would come out on stage and introduce him. So I know that Trump has a lot of loyalty and respect for Jeff Sessions, and I'm sure that's why he got the position of Attorney General. And I can understand that. I mean, Sessions supported him, and Trump likes him and all that kind of stuff. That's all good. But just for me, Jeff Sessions just seems a bit too soft, not tough enough for the game. Remember, President Trump and all of us are taking on the deep state, the establishment, and the nastiest people the world has ever seen, who will do anything and everything to accomplish their objectives, including taking down a president and many other things that they will do as well. And we know about a lot of them. And I just don't know that Jeff Sessions is up to it. And when he allowed himself to be bullied into stepping aside from the Russia investigations, I really was not very happy with that move. But simply because, I mean, by letting the Democrats bully him like that, it showed them that they can bully him and get what they want. And I think Sessions never should have caved into that pressure. I don't think there was even that much pressure on him. I mean, what he should have came out and said is exactly what the truth is, was that, yeah, as a senator, I met with the Russian ambassador. So do lots of other senators meet with the Russian ambassador. That's our job as senators. But now I'm Attorney General, and my role is different. But he didn't. I mean, he stepped away from that, and that's what allowed the assistant director, who's a Democrat and a Clinton supporter and a friend of James Comey. That's what kind of set up the stage for the current prosecutor to be appointed, or special counsel, whatever you want to call it. And so I just question whether or not Jeff Sessions has the toughness to stand up and go bare knuckle, two-fisted against the deep state. We know Donald Trump does. We know he's a bare knuckle fighter. We know that Steve Bannon is a bare knuckle fighter, but there are very few around Trump who are. Mostly he's surrounded himself with people, I think, who his advisors told him would be the right people to put in there. But again, I think you have to understand that when you're taking on the deep state, you're taking on some very nasty people, and you better be prepared for a very tough fight. You cannot back down from these people. You have got to challenge them, and you've got to fight them, unfortunately, every day. They will not quit, and they will not back down. You have really got to be tough to deal with these people. And I just don't know that Jeff Sessions is going to be able to find it. Now, he could change my mind tomorrow in those hearings. Jeff Sessions could change my mind tomorrow in those hearings if he would step up and, number one, when the Democrats on the committee start trying to bully him and browbeat him over his Russia connections and things like that, I would like for him to call them out, to stand up and get in their face and call them out for the hypocrites that they are. And don't take their crap. That's what I would like to see him do. Further, I would like to see Jeff Sessions inform these Democrats and others on that committee, and for everyone watching, that he is looking into the Hillary Clinton emails. That would be something that I think would be nice to see him do, to show he's standing up to the establishment, because that issue has not been sorted out. We know from James Comey's testimony that he cashed in his chips on that little event after being pressured by the Attorney General, which still needs to be looked into a little more. In fact, quite a bit more, and I'm sure it will. He also needs to announce that he is looking into the Clinton Foundation. We have some more breaking news on the Clinton Foundation and James Comey's association with the Clinton Foundation. I'll be bringing that to you here in just a moment. So those are two things that Jeff Sessions could do, or three things he could do tomorrow. Call out the Democrats, don't take any of their crap, point out how they are hypocrites, let them know that he is going to reopen the investigation and do the Clinton emails. We still have 30,000 missing emails. We still have a missing laptop. We still have a lot of problems that were never resolved. I would also make it perfectly clear that I am looking into the Clinton Foundation. And the next thing that he should do is, after the hearings are over, he should walk up to the podium and announce that as a result of James Comey's testimony and as a result of the testimony of the other heads of the intel agencies, we've now established that there was never an investigation of Trump-Russia, that there is no evidence of collusion between Trump and Russia, and therefore we need no special prosecutor for Trump-Russia. And based on that, Jeff Sessions should say, so now I'm reassuming my position as Attorney General. I've cleared myself in these hearings. I have no dealings going on with the Russians. Trump has no dealings going on with the Russians. So we're all clear. So I'm now going to step back into the forefront as Attorney General and go back to managing the affairs of the office, including things regarding Russia. Possibly looking into that Russian hacking. Maybe Mr. Sessions would like to get a hold of those DNC computers and find out more about the hacking. But he should certainly step up to the podium and do one thing that would show me that he's really up to the job. And that is fire or get rid of Mr. Mueller. There's no longer any need for Mr. Mueller. We've now learned from all the intelligence heads, as well as Mr. Comey, that there was no Trump investigation regarding Trump and Russia. There was no evidence of Russia collusion between Trump and anyone in his campaign, and therefore we don't need Mr. Mueller, who's of course a longtime associate of James Comey, and I'll be giving you a little more information about Mr. Mueller here in just a moment. So that's what Jeff Sessions could do to win back some of my confidence, because quite honestly, up to this point, I just don't think he's tough enough to deal with these people. You have to deal you have to deal with these people the way they're dealing with you. You have to come at them hard. They're coming at Trump with everything they've got. And Jeff Sessions needs to man up. And I think there is some talk in the news today from Trump's attorneys that they are considering firing Mueller, getting rid of Mueller. They don't need him. We've already established that there is no Trump-Russia collusion, and that's primarily what he was supposed to be looking into. The other things that he should be looking into now, certainly after Comey's testimony, is Comey's associations. Comey's leaking, Comey's possible association and being involved with the leaks, and we'll get more into that in just a moment, and just the general nature of James Comey having learned that he leaked the memo, having learned that he stepped back and away from the Clinton email investigation because he was pressured by Lynch and all these things, and knowing that Mr. Mueller is a close and longtime friend of Mr. Comey, can we now expect Mr. Mueller is going to do a fair investigation? Is he going to look into James Comey's dealings? Is he going to look into the pay for play of the Clinton Foundation? Is he going to look into the connections between the Clinton Foundation and Russia? Is he going to look into the connections between the Podestas and the Clinton Foundation and the Russians? Is he going to look into any of these things? No, that's not why he was put there. He was put there to be another point of pressure on Trump. That's the purpose he was put there for. He is a member of the deep state. He's no friend whatsoever of truth and justice, believe me. So, yes, I believe that Mueller should be fired, but I don't generally it is not the president who would do that. Generally, the attorney general would. Now, Jeff Sessions, of course, has recused himself, but he needs now to step forward and say, okay, I stepped back, but now we've had all this thing aired out, and now it's been proven that I have no association with the Russians. Trump has no association, collusion with the Russians. That's all been put to bed. So now I'm taking back my primary role as Attorney General and assuming full control of these investigations. And the very first thing I'm going to do, now that we no longer need him, is I'm going to fire Mr. Mueller, tell him and his lawyers to all go back home and do what they were doing before, because we don't need them anymore. That's what Mr. Sessions could do to win back my confidence. Yes, it also appears that Trump's legal team may be, and this is being reported by Fox News, and also I found it on the Truth feed, and I will provide a link for you to this story by Truth feed using Fox as their source. And as I just mentioned, Trump's legal team may be prepared to show a trail of leaks to the New York Times by FBI Director Comey dating back to March 2016. The complaints will be filed to the Justice Department and the Senate Judiciary Committee. And if you'll read that story with the link I'm going to provide you, you will see that the Trump's legal team lays out these dates and events where stories that ran in the New York Times, which they said were sourced from top FBI and DOJ officials, or those privy to their conversations, you will see that as the story lays it out, you can see the dates of these stories by the New York Times that sourced high-level Justice Department and FBI officials, and you will see the connection and the circumstances and what James Comey was doing about that time and what other things were happening about that time. And you can clearly see that there appears to be connections between these New York Times stories and events that were happening within the FBI and the Justice Department around James Comey. So it appears that Trump's legal team may be prepared to show these strange coincidences that may prove or certainly give strong evidence to support that Director Comey was doing a lot more leaking than he's admitted to, and that he in fact may have been one of the, if not the primary source for the leaks to the New York Times. I'll provide the link in the description, below the description, and you can read these links. You can see these as they lay them out one after another, the dates of the leaks, the sources claimed by the New York Times as being their source for the leaks, and then you can see the events that were transpiring at the time, along with what Mr. Comey was doing at about that time. It sure looks awfully convincing to me that very much, you can believe in a certain amount of coincidence, but there's far too much coincidental evidence that James Comey may have been doing a lot more leaking than what he's let on. Now let's talk about Mr. Mueller. First of all, we know he's a very good friend of James Comey and has been for years. We know he's a member of the deep state. We know he is a yes man. We know that when he was the FBI director during the Bush years, that Mueller went along with the curveball source used by the Bush administration, which is largely how they made their case to go into Iraq. We know now that Mr. Mueller was informed by British intelligence that curveball, their source, was a liar, and that the British intelligence quit paying him for information a long time ago. Tony Blair also told George Bush this personally, but Mr. Mueller was quite aware of this fact, as was Mr. Tenet as well. They knew curveball was not a reliable source, yet they went along with the whole thing. Mr. Mueller did not speak out about the abuses in Abu Ghraib prison, despite knowing all about it. Before we were shown those horrible pictures, before we learned about what was going on in Abu Ghraib, we know that Mr. Mueller was quite aware of every bit of that. He never came out afterwards and said he was sorry or that he made a mistake or anything like that. Mr. Mueller completely went along with the abuses and what was going on in Abu Ghraib prison, which is definitely not something that, as an American, that you should be proud of. Let's just put it that way. Mueller did not speak out about the massive surveillance that was going on, even though he knew it was going on, and he was in fact a participant of it. So are we supposed to believe that Mr. Mueller is going to look into the surveillance question on Donald Trump? Are we supposed to believe that he's going to take a look at Mr. Montgomery's 47 hard drives, which James Comey obstructed justice by not investigating? When in fact Mr. Mueller himself, during the Bush and even 2 years of Obama, himself was involved in mass illegal surveillance and helping to cover all that up? And what about Mr. Mueller's involvement in the cover-ups of 9/11? Whatever you believe about 9/11, whether you believe the official story, whether you do not believe the official story, whatever position you may hold in that particular affair, there is no question that there was a lot of things that did not add up around the 9/11 attacks. Mr. Mueller was, of course, the head of the FBI there, and of course he was a participant in the cover-up of a lot of things, and a lot of the questions that a lot of people had that never have been answered, and Mr. Mueller is all a part of that as well. Mr. Mueller is a part of the deep state. He is a friend of James Comey. He's certainly no friend of the president, and he is no friend of freedom. He is no friend of justice. He is no friend of the truth. He is a political hack who's probably been put into the position he's in to try to do more damage to the republic and to the president. Trump's attorney, so we hear today that Trump's attorney is not ruling out that they may fire Mueller, and I believe that they should, but I believe that the man to do that is Senator or former Senator Sessions, now Attorney General Sessions. He needs to step up tomorrow after his hearing, have a press conference, announce that he is now back in charge, and that the very first act he's going to do is to fire Mr. Mueller. We no longer need him, and then he can get started working on the Clinton Foundation and Mr. Comey's association with the Clinton Foundation. You see, because James Comey was the general counsel for Lockheed Martin, where he earned over $6 million. And in the same year that Lockheed Martin, that Comey was representing them as an attorney, Lockheed Martin became a member of the Clinton Global Initiative, where they were awarded 17 multi-billion-dollar contracts under Hillary Rodham Clinton's State Department. So you have Hillary Rodham Clinton as head of the State Department. You have James Comey working for Lockheed Martin, where he earned over $6 million. And in that same year, Lockheed Martin becomes a member of the Clinton Global Initiative, donating, of course, lots and lots of money to the Clinton Foundation, and, of course, being awarded 17 multi-billion-dollar contracts. Mighty cozy relationship going on there between Hillary Clinton, James Comey, the Clinton Foundation, and Lockheed Martin, which should not surprise any of us. Also, the Senate Intelligence Committee was awfully interested in Mr. Comey's memo that he was talking about. And so they just decided, it appears, in writing, to ask Mr. Comey to provide that memo that he leaked to his friend from Columbia University, Daniel Richman. But Comey, in response to that, says he no longer has the memo. In fact, he says that he didn't physically give Mr. Richman a memo. He didn't send him an email. He didn't mail it in the snail mail. He didn't pass a note to him personally. No. The entire thing was related in a phone conversation in which Comey now says that he wasn't even reading from the memo, that he was reciting from memory about what he wrote down in the memo, and that memo had already been destroyed. For some reason, he liked to take these notes and then destroy them. So now Comey is saying that he doesn't know where that memo would be, that it was originally on his work computer, which he says he deleted that memo, and so it's not there. So the Senate Intelligence Committee was wanting to take a look at the actual memo, and now Comey has changed his story and suggesting that there never was a physical memo that he actually gave to Mr. Richman, that he was simply having a phone conversation, and that he was reciting by memory what he had written down in the memo, which he had deleted. And so he was just telling this guy on the phone, yeah, I think you should go to the New York Times and tell him this and this and this, and hopefully we'll get a special prosecutor, blah, 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 blah. So maybe the NSA needs to be directed to go back and pull up that telephone call and listen to Mr. Comey's telephone call with Mr. Richman. Maybe we can learn something from that, do you think? Of course, it just wouldn't be another day in America with another stupid comment by John McCain and, of course, his close associate, Nancy Pelosi. So today, John McCain just can't keep his trap shut. The man is literally freaking senile, as has already been established, especially with the most recent video of John McCain trying to ask some questions, not even being able to even organize his thoughts, not even understand the issue he's even talking about. But Mr. McCain now says that American leadership was stronger under Obama. Can you believe that? That is absolutely... I don't care how much you hate Trump, if you're McCain, but to say that that American leadership was stronger under Obama, you have got to be kidding me. You've got to be kidding me. The way that Putin treated Obama, the way he stared him down, laughed at him, ignored him. Putin wouldn't even take his phone calls for the past 2 years. The way that the Chinese treated him when he went to China, that they made him walk down the service steps of the airplane, didn't even greet him. And then the Chinese security people got into a verbal slapdown with Obama's people after they got butthurt about the whole event. The fact that Obama has been walked on by every world leader, he's laughed at, he's not respected. His apology tour, it just goes on and on. Yet John McCain is, after Trump's successful whirlwind tour around the world here in the past couple of weeks, and as well as that went for John McCain to come out and say that American leadership was stronger under Obama, there was no leadership under Obama. In fact, Trump is the one showing the real leadership. Absolutely extraordinary. And then, of course, Nancy Pelosi comes out and says that Comey's revelation on Loretta Lynch was no big deal. No big deal. Of course, if that roles would have been reversed and that would have been Sessions telling President Trump or Sessions telling Trump's FBI director that he appointed to change the characterization of the investigation into Hillary Clinton's emails, and probably even pressured to stop the investigation or what have you, or to back down, I'm sure Nancy Pelosi would have just said, oh, that's no big deal. Whew, these people just suck. Okay, and one other thing. On Seth Rich, we have something new also in the past 24 hours. There is a new video of a man who's been identified as Mark Mueller. This may or may not be his real name, but he's being identified as Mark Mueller. He claims to be Seth Rich's neighbor. He also says that he saw Seth after he was shot. He says, quote, police walked him past me to identify him because I was his neighbor. And police told me as they were walking him by, and after I identified him, the police said that he didn't know he was even shot. Seth Rich told the police, according to this man, they told him that Seth did not even know he was shot. That's kind of hard to believe, but that's what he's stating. Now, this man was also in the video, and one of the people who spoke at the vigil that they had for Seth Rich, which was also attended by none other than Debbie Blabbermouth Wasserman Schultz. I wonder why Debbie Blabbermouth Wasserman Schultz was there. I think probably to take account of what was exactly happening there and who might show up there that may become a problem. I'm pretty sure that's why Debbie Blabbermouth Wasserman Schultz would want to show up. I will go ahead and post a link for you to this story. It comes to us from the Gateway Pundit. So if you want to read more about that and take a look at the video, there's actually 2 videos there that you can watch. You can see this individual who claims to be Mark Mueller, and you can see his story. And another video there as well showing the vigil and a little bit more detail on the actual story itself. So that's basically what we have. So anyway, tomorrow we get Jeff Sessions. I certainly hope that he demonstrates some testicles, and I hope he doesn't take any crap from the Democrats. And I do hope that what would really make me very happy and restore my confidence in him would be if after he gets through with his hearings, and hopefully he won't take any crap from the Democrats during the hearings, but once he gets out of the hearings, I think he should step up to the podium, reassert himself as taking back control of his position as the Attorney General, and he should immediately establish 3 things. Number 1, that he is firing Mr. Mueller because there is no need for Mr. Mueller, plus he is compromised by his associations with Mr. Comey, who needs to be investigated, and it's hard to imagine that Mr. Mueller would investigate Mr. Comey. They're very close friends. They're part of the deep state. They're working on the same team. Mr. Mueller has no real credibility, and I would shut that program down immediately. That's one thing that he should do, and the other 2 things he should do is announce that the email investigation is back on, and that an investigation into the Clinton Foundation is also happening, or should be happening. I've already heard rumors that they are looking into the Clinton Foundation, but he should announce it. I want him to say it to the Democrats, to their face, to the media. That's how you got to deal with these people. You look in the camera and you say, yes, today I am announcing that we are involved in 2 investigations, to one old investigation, the Clinton email scandal. We are now going to be looking into that because we don't think that it was thoroughly investigated. And we are also going to be looking into the Clinton Foundation, something that has not been looked at all as far as we know. And don't forget, we have that little story that I brought to you 2 days ago about the son of the Bangladeshi president claiming that he was threatened by Hillary Clinton's State Department with an IRS investigation if he didn't tell his daddy to stop investigating the criminal banker who's a good friend of the Clintons and a big Clinton Foundation donor. So we still have that, and we know that investigation is going to be happening in the Senate with Charles Grassley. So there are some things going on there. But at this point, yes, Mr. Mueller, have no confidence in whatsoever. He's not in a position in my mind to investigate the surveillance issue, because he was part of the deep state conducting illegal surveillance himself. And in fact, some of this stuff that's on Mr. Montgomery's hard drives goes back to the days of Robert Mueller. Do you think Mr. Mueller is going to look into that, considering a lot of this stuff that's on Montgomery's hard drives would actually have Mr. Mueller in the target area? So Mr. Mueller should never have been put in that position. He's too close to Mr. Comey. He's too close to the intel community and was part of illegal surveillance. He's got a very checkered past. He's part of the deep state. He probably hates Trump. It's just, I agree that Trump and his attorneys are on the right path. I think they should get rid of Mueller. I think the way to do it is to have Attorney General Sessions do it. And so hopefully tomorrow Sessions will step up and he'll show us that he is tough enough to stand up to these people, and will face them down, and will do the right thing. And I've just told you what the right thing is. We'll see what Sessions does tomorrow. Hopefully he won't sit there and pout and get beat on by the Democrats. I just hope that doesn't happen. And if it does happen, then I do believe that Donald Trump should strongly consider replacing Jeff Sessions. He may be a good friend. He may have been loyal and supported him during the campaign, but we are in a nasty, nasty, vicious battle, and the deep state is throwing everything they've got. They will not back down. They will not quit until they destroy President Trump. This is not the time to play patty cake. You're going to have to get some tough, tough people who are willing to take these people on head on. It's the only way you're going to defeat them. You can't back down from them. This is something you can't do. So hopefully we'll see Jeff Sessions man up tomorrow and make me proud. Alrighty, I've got some other things, but we're just, I'm trying to keep the videos to under 30 minutes so I don't have to edit videos down. But anyway, that's what we have going on for today. Day 101, TowerGate, June the 12th, 2017, Monday. I will be back tomorrow evening with another video, and we'll dissect the Jeff Sessions hearing and see if he took my advice. And there's something I've been wanting to get to now for a few days, but I just never have time to get to it, to give everybody some hope and to make everybody feel good about what we keep seeing from the liberal media. Because, what they're doing is actually very good for us and very bad for them. So hopefully tomorrow night or some night this week before the week is up, I will get a chance to expand on exactly what I'm talking about here and why we should all be very happy that the liberal media continues to do what they're doing. Because it's actually, while it seems like it's bad and it's painful to go through right now, I think in the long game it's very, very good for us and very, very bad for them. So I'll explain what I'm talking about here in the next, if not tomorrow night, then within the next couple of days. I will get to it because it's been on my mind for a week. Alrighty, you guys have a good night. Thank you for tuning in. See you tomorrow.